people. So before we get into today's video, I just wanted to quickly jump on here and explain why I'm posting my March favourites in June. So for the last 3 or 4 videos I've had real technical difficulties. Every video, it's like I forget how to talk. Anyway, so for the last 3 videos, they've all been favourites videos, funnily enough. I've had real difficulties with iMovie, and like I've saved projects and I've gone back in, and that's what I use to edit all my videos. And I've saved projects and then I've gone back in, and then media's missing or the render files have been deleted by myself. That's my own fault. But there's been some real issues. So those videos are still coming. That's literally why I've jumped on here to tell you that. But that is why it is June and you are seeing my March favourites and my April favourites. So yeah, just wanted to quickly explain that. Let's get into the actual video now. Bye. Hello lovely people, and welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Lauren. Welcome to my channel. Make yourself comfortable. So today I am going to talk to you about my March favourites. Now I can't quite believe that we're at the point where I'm saying March favourites. We're like two-thirds, a third? No, I'm bad at numbers. So we're a third of the way through the year now, and I just sorry, this is such a super basic way to start a video. Anyway, I've got a lot of things to talk about, so let's talk about them. So I'm actually in the weird position where I've got way more beauty products to talk about than sort of non-beauty favourites this month. Normally it's always a couple of beauty favourites and then loads of like pop culture stuff. So I'm going to start with the non-beauty first, and the first thing I want to talk about is The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. Now I am still currently reading this. I'm about 30 pages from the end, and it has been a bit of a hard slog, I'm not going to lie, but it is such a fascinating story. So basically my housemate recommended that I read this. This is actually his book. Shout out to Rick, who's definitely not watching. But it basically tells the story of H.H. Holmes, who is the serial killer who inspired the American Horror Story Hotel, I think it's called. It's the series with Lady Gaga in it. And it's the most extraordinary and weird and bizarre and horrific story, but it's so fascinating. So it actually tells 2 stories. So there's H.H. Holmes, and then there is the story of the White City, which was the location for the Chicago's World Fair. I've read this. Why am I struggling so much? So Chicago's World's Fair, which was in the late 1800s, I think 1893 or 1892. And basically, so these stories are told side by side, and it's the architect Daniel Burnham who designed and built the World's Fair, and then H.H. Holmes. And to be honest, I'm 30 pages from the end and I'm still waiting for the stories to be tied together, but they're so fascinating. The amount of research that's gone into this is incredible, and it's quite hard to describe. It's not true crime, but it is. I think there's been a lot of creative license taken with this. It kind of blurs the line between fact and fiction, so it's a very good read. It does take a while to get into. It's taken me about a month to read this, which is kind of unheard of, but I've really enjoyed it. So if you like true crime, and we all do, even though that is quite a problematic thing, but yeah, we all do, it's fascinating, for better or worse it is, then I think this is a really good read for you. I think it'd be quite a good holiday read. I went to Cyprus recently, didn't take this, read another book on my Kindle, but it is very good, especially if you're like a true crime murder nut. Yeah, it's fascinating. My next favourite is another book. I read this one on my Kindle, and it is Unsticky by Sarah Manning. It's Sarah Manning, sorry. I came across this after listening to Jean Sutton's episode of Sentimental Garbage, which is a really good one. I've listened to it a few times now, and I immediately downloaded it, read it while I was in Cyprus, and just absolutely loved it. It's such a good story. It's kind of like a rags to riches kind of vibe. Basically, Grace is a fashion assistant at a magazine called Skirt, and she is struggling. She's in a lot of debt. She handles beautiful couture clothes every day, and she has no money. She can't afford to feed herself, and she lives in this dire flat in North London, I think it is. Is it North or East? Anyway, she basically has just this awful time of it until she meets Vaughan, who is a mysterious art dealer, and then he offers her an indecent proposal, and she becomes his professional girlfriend. I'm not 100% sure if that counts as sex work. no judgment, it's a great book. It's really great. I read it very quickly. The writing is insanely good. It's so addictive. I couldn't put it down. I loved it. And also, and I hope my mum's not watching, but there are sex scenes in it, so it's not like a trashy sort of sex book like 50 Shades of Grey kind of thing. It's not erotica, but there are sex scenes in it, and it's some of the best sort of sex writing that I've come across, in that it's actually quite sexy, unlike like 50 Shades of Grey, which is just cringy and embarrassing because it's so poorly written. But yeah, it's a really good one, so I strongly recommend that. I've got a couple of Netflix recommendations this month. The first is Afterlife by Ricky Gervais. Now, I know this has caused quite the controversy online. I know that there are things about Ricky Gervais that aren't great. I personally like his work but don't love him. I think he can be offensive for the sake of being offensive sometimes, but I really enjoyed Afterlife. I do see the problems with it. There is lots of casual fat phobia. There are things wrong with it. It's not perfect, but it is very funny and it's very touching in places, and I do really recommend that. The second one isn't actually a Netflix recommendation, sorry, it's actually on All 4 or 4OD or whatever Channel 4's on demand streaming platform is now called, because I don't know. Anyway, Dairy Girls. Oh my god, I'm way late to this party, but I'm so glad I'm finally here. It's amazing. So I'm about halfway through the first series, or nearly at the end of the first series, but I'm obsessed. I've watched two episodes this morning while I was setting up to film this. It's so good. It's funny. It's quite jarring sometimes because obviously it's set in Northern Ireland during the conflict in the mid-90s, 96 I think it's set in, and it's just, so there's these 4 schoolgirls and James, who is an honorary Dairy Girl, has an English character, and he is sent to the girls' school because they don't think he's tough enough for the boys' school, and they're sort of having this sort of like carefree lovely time, and then every now and then there are soldiers and rifles, and it's quite jarring. And I think that's partly what it makes it so good, because obviously there was a conflict. This is very recent history, and it was a real problem, and it's so funny though. I've loved it. I loved it so much. It's brilliant, so I strongly recommend that. I love all 4 characters in very different ways. I love Erin. I love the fact that she is this stunningly beautiful woman with this rubber face, that she just is amazing, the faces she pulls. I love Erin. I love Michelle because she's such a badass. I love Claire because Claire's my favourite, and I think she's a lot of people's favourite. She's just brilliant. Nicola Coughlan, who plays her, has nailed it, and Orla is so funny, and James as well. James is such a sweetie and he has such a hard time, but yeah, I'm also really shipping like Erin and James. So no spoilers, don't spoil it for me if you've watched it and I haven't yet, but I really hope they end up together. Yeah, I do. My record of the month this month, which was a thing I did in my January favourites but not in my February, but I will do a thing, it will become like a common thing, is Crystal Visions by Stevie Nicks. Now, I don't actually have this to hand because I can't find it, but it is one of my absolute favourite records. So it's basically the best of Stevie Nicks, and it's got so many amazing tracks on it. It's got Dreams, it's got Rhiannon Live, Rhiannon is such a good song. It's got Silver Springs, which is one of my Desert Island discs. It's got Stand Back, it's got I Can't Wait. It's just such a good album. I kind of listen to it when I go out or before I go out to get me pumped up to go out. It's just so good. It's any sort of Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, I can't talk. This happens in every video. So I get ahead of myself and I'm talking too fast and my brain can't catch up and I just run out of things to say. This doesn't happen in my day-to-day life, but it happens in every video. Anyway, if you are a fan of Stevie Nicks or Fleetwood Mac and you haven't listened to Crystal Visions, I'm assuming if you're a big fan you would have, but if you haven't, give it a listen, because it's one of those albums that I can literally listen to from start to finish. It's so good. I love it, and it's made me so much more excited to see Fleetwood Mac in June. I'm very excited. It's going to be great. So now let's talk about my beauty favourites, and there's quite a few of them, but the first one I want to talk about is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Dim Light. Now, this is a teeny tiny palette. This is, oh, it doesn't say how many grams. Oh, 1.4 grams. It's tiny. I actually got this in the Caroline Hirons Space NK box she did. I think it was like Decode or Code. She did it last summer. It's a great box. And And I cracked into this when I went to Cyprus because I wanted a powder that was small enough to pack, that wouldn't, the one I'm using at the moment is the Glossier powder, and that's quite bulky, whereas this is really small. So I took this with me and it has completely converted me, and my Glossier powder has just been completely forgotten about. It's so, so lovely. Now, unfortunately, I can't open this to show you it because I dropped it this morning and broke it. But it's such a good little powder. It's just gives you like a diffused glow. I'm wearing it today and it sets everything in place. It keeps everything where you want it to, but it doesn't make you look cakey or dried out. It just gives you this really sort of lit from within glow. And I'd heard all of the hype around this, and I'm always really worried when it comes to hyped up products because there's so much hype around certain things that how could you possibly live up to it? But this has. It's just the most finely blended, beautiful, soft texture. It's so soft, that's why it broke. And I love it so, so much. It's gorgeous. I'm so, so gutted I broke it literally today. But I will be investing in a full size, and I think this will probably be my go-to sort of setting powder now because it's amazing. I love it. So I have 2 MAC lipsticks to talk to you about this month. Whenever I go travelling, this is sort of like a fun little fact, I always buy a MAC lipstick at duty free, and it's now got to the point where I buy one for me and I buy one for my mum and I buy one for my sister, and it's like our little travel ritual that I do every time I go travelling. And they had this really cool little travel exclusive, and I've thrown the box away now. But it was 3 lipsticks, and in it had this one, which is Bricola, which I'm wearing today, and is just the most beautiful sort of brick red, but it's not too in your face. As you can see, I'm wearing it, so it's kind of, on me, it's more of a neutral, even though it's a red. It's not an in your face red, it's sort of like a nudie, pinky, raspberry red. It's hard to explain, but I'm wearing it and I love it. It's been my go-to every day. Now, this is the amplified creme finish, which is not my favourite because they do kind of slip and slide around, so you have to reapply them a lot. But if you apply this with a good sort of lip liner and then a layer of lip coat, and it sticks around for ages. And I love it. Anyway, in this travel sort of trio, it had Bricola and it had Velvet Teddy and it had one that I gave to my sister, and I can't remember what it was called, but she loved it. So that was a great one. And then this one is a matte lipstick and it's called You Wouldn't Get It. And this is just so up my street. This is very similar to, this is very similar to Max Mare, which is one of my all-time favourite lipsticks. So it's the matte one. Max mattes tend to be quite powdery in finish, but they do stick around and they last a really long time, and they're also quite comfortable because they're very creamy. This is just such a pretty colour. It's so up my street. It's a very muted pinky nude. I know on some people, I've got very pigmented lips, so my nudes tend to be the more pinky raspberry shades rather than sort of like Velvet Teddy, which is very sort of brown. But yeah, so these are my 2 favourites. I've loved them so much, so much. I have another lipstick to talk about because I am obsessed with lipstick. As you all know, it's one of my favourite beauty products, if not my all-time favourite beauty product. I do not go out of the house without wearing lipstick, or if I do, I'm putting lipstick on the bus. Anyway, I've got sidetracked. This is the PS Velvet Matte Velvet Lipstick Crayon. I have added velvet in there quite a lot. It's the PS Velvet Matte Lipstick Crayon. That's the actual title. Now, I can't find a name for this shade on here, but it is this beautiful sort of burgundy sort of wine red, and oh my god, it's incredible. The lasting power on this, I wasn't expecting much. I've actually had this for years. I reckon I've had this about 2 years, and it was just in my lipstick drawer, which is in there. Those, I have no depth perception. I can't believe I have to say this in every video. Those are my makeup drawers. Anyway, I was in a rush and I thought I'd grabbed my NARS lip crayon, which is a very similar shade, and what I'd actually grabbed was this. So I put it on and was unbelievably impressed. It just is so good. Now, the application is a bit tricky because the formula is very dry, so you put it on, there is some dragging. However, once you fill your lips in, this is on. not only is it on for the long haul, and I mean the long haul, you can eat, drink, whatever, this stays on, but it's comfortable to wear. And that's the unexpected part, because the application is so drying and there is dragging and it does catch and skip sometimes, but if a steady hand will solve that. So this is kind of one that I don't put on the bus. That's a lie, I do. But yeah, the application may be tricky, but once you've got this on, it stays on. It's fantastic, and the colour is just mwah. It's this beautiful sort of rich wine red. It's more on the blue toned for paler skin, which obviously I have. It's just wonderful. So I'm really impressed with these. Like I said, I've had this a while, so if Primark still does it, look out for this one. It's a real shame they don't have names. I don't know if they've changed that, but when I first bought this does not have a name on it, not at all. My next favourite, this is my second from last favourite, is the Love, Beauty and Planet Shower Gel. This is the Argan Oil and Lavender Relaxing Rain scent, and it's incredible. So I started using this after I found out that my local Tesco's stopped stocking Sopa Duper, which I was incredibly loyal to and absolutely loved. And so I was a bit gutted actually when that happened. And for a while I was having to use Sanex, like the 0% shower gel, because I have really, really sensitive skin. It flares up at literally anything. I've got quite bad eczema on my arms as well, so if I don't use like natural shower gels, it's just a nightmare. So I tried this and I am absolutely in love with it. It's completely vegan. The bottle is made from recycled materials. It doesn't have any I don't think it's got any SLSs in it. Yeah, mild cleansers, biodegradable formula, ethically sourced lavender, organic coconut oil, natural argan oil, plant-based cleansers, no sulfates, no parabens, no colorants. So it's really, really good formula. It's good for both you and the planet. Although no one paid me to say that, just thought I'd put that out there. It's just wonderful. It smells amazing. Its scent is very similar to, I don't know if anyone tried the Lush Sleep Moisturiser, which I also love. So it's kind of vanilla cookie with lavender in it, which I just love. It smells incredible. I'm a really big fan of this. And now on to my last beauty favourites, and we have the OGX Kukui oil, I think it said. Now my best friend turned me onto this after I was complaining about how frizzy my hair is and how it won't grow, although actually it has grown quite a lot. Although I do over straighten it and the ends are dry as hell. Anyway, I have been using this every day. This is a spray on oil. You literally spray it on and you leave it, and it's a hydrating anti-frizz oil and it's amazing. This is my second bottle and I have a third bottle waiting ready to go for when I run out of this. It's amazing. It smells amazing. It just really soothes and defrizzes my hair, and it's also really... Austro is not a word. It's also really, really nourishing. It's amazing. I honestly don't know how I've lived so long without it, because I am a serum fiend. I have about 12 on the go at any one time, but this is my favourite oil that I've come across. It's really lightweight. You literally just mist it all over your hair and then that's all you have to do. It's non-greasy. It doesn't weigh the hair down. It doesn't make your hair look greasy. It just calms frizz, hydrates. It's fantastic. I've also made my mum buy a bottle because she also over processes her hair and she has only good things to say about it too. This is fantastic. If you're trying to grow your hair, if you have curly hair, if you just have hair that is sometimes problematic, because we all do, well, we don't all do. Anyway, very good, really excellent. I love it a lot. I think it's worked wonders on my hair. So I've remembered one more favourite that I forgot to talk about, and this is the song Here's to Us, guest version, specifically the guest version by the band Hailstorm. I don't know why I suddenly started listening to this song again. That was so like 2012 Lauren's Jam. I love that song. I really loved that song. I used to sing it all the time, and it just completely popped into my head out of nowhere the other day, and I started singing along to it, and I was just like, I love this song. And I did download it about 1,000 years ago when it first came out, but it wasn't on my laptop anymore, so I bought a new one, and I bought the EP, and it had the guest version on it, and I'm just so obsessed with it. So like honestly, I've had it on repeat for days. That's not an exaggeration either, like days. I love it. But there's just this bit, so mostly all the way through it's Lizzie Hale singing, and it sounds amazing because Slash plays guitar on it. But it just sounds like a really, really good version of the song. And then we get to the end of the song and the chorus is sung by a load of different people. I think there's the lead singer from Alter Bridges on there. I think I googled it and I can't remember who they are, but it's just great. It's so good, and the final chorus is just different lines are sung by different artists, and I just love it so much. It is so good. So I've been listening to that a lot. Also, another favourite song, which has been surprising to me as much as anyone else because it's so not my type of music and yet I have loved it, is Sweet But Psycho by Ava Max. That is so not my type of music. I am a bit of a music snob, I will happily admit that. I think people who aren't music snobs aren't passionate about any type of music, personally, but you may feel free to disagree, that's fine, but that's so not what I would listen to, and yet I love it so much. It's so good. It's one of those songs that just, I listen to it, it gets me pumped. It'd be a great song for me to listen to at the gym. So I'm nodding along like a nodding dog there. It's so good. I just really like it a lot. It's so good. So those were all my March favourites. Again, I can't believe we're in April. I'm sorry I've sort of like stumbled my way through this video. I don't know if it's made it in, but there was definitely a clip where I explained that sometimes my mouth goes faster than my brain, or the other way around, and I can't keep up. Anyway, so sorry about that. But if you liked this video, like and subscribe and click that bell icon for more content like this. I post once a week on Thursdays. I haven't got an upload time yet, but let me know if you'd prefer morning or evening, because I was doing it in the evening, but I will change if people want that. Anyway, let me know what your favourites were in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Bye!